interested in nation building?
You know, I hate the use of a single phrase to describe what I would or would not do. Clearly, in Iraq today, we're trying to build a nation.
Yeah.
So, in the case of Iraq.
But in the future, like in Iran, would you try to avoid confrontation, or do you believe we need?
Well, in Iran, for instance, they're trying to develop a nuclear weapon, and that's not something we're going to find as being acceptable. And so a military option has to be considered in Iran. At the same time, I think we should tighten our economic and diplomatic sanctions against Iran to make it very clear to them, to their public, to Khomeini, who watches what Ahmadinejad is doing, and everybody else around the world that might be thinking about developing nuclear weapons, that we're very serious and that we will put pressure on any nation that violates the NPT. And so you have to take the action which you think is in the best interest of America, and having a nuclear Iran is not in the best interest of anyone in the world, so far as I can calculate it. And for that reason, we would have to maintain a willingness to potentially take military action, or to certainly use the sanctions that we have available to us.
Governor, I'm going to butt in on you here. Is your official position now on, you know, on all these charges of flip-flopping, that you're on various issues, that you're, you know, you're evolving? Is that kind of what you say?
No,
no. What do you say?
I changed my position on abortion, and that's because of a long-standing review that I've had of our stem cell research in our state. We looked at what was happening in cloning, and I concluded that we had a need in our state, and I think in the nation, to respect human life. I've always been personally pro-life, but my position has been effectively a pro-choice position in terms of protecting the law as it existed. But about 2.5 years ago, I changed and said, look, I'm pro-life. But other issues, the positions are the same. There's some areas where, over time, you're going to say, gosh, I've learned from that experience. I used to, for instance, be in favor of eliminating the Department of Education. I said, well, you know what?
Little Lamar Alexander.
You know, and then I said, well, okay, I've changed my view on that. So what I've learned is people in the private sector, like myself, learn from experience. And as we learn from experience, we're happy to say, hey, you know, I was wrong on this, and this is the view that I think is right now. But my principles are the same. Respect the value of human life. I believe marriage should be between a man and a woman. I'm not willing to discriminate against people on the basis of their race or creed or gender. So I'm a person of sound values, I believe, whose positions I think I could explain pretty well.
I'm old enough to remember your father and his campaign in 1968. And what do you think advice he would give you for this day, for this time when you're running? Or did he give you some at some point?
No, I don't think he imagined that I'd be running for this office. He passed away. He passed away about a decade ago. He sure loved the fact that I was taking on Ted Kennedy. He and I both felt that Ted Kennedy's policies were about
94 Senate race.
Yeah, 94 Senate race. That Ted Kennedy was about the opposite of what America needed, and that his policies weren't working. And so he came in and helped me in my campaign in '94 and worked alongside me. I think he'd be telling me to do the same thing today. America needs a government that we take it apart, put it back together, but make it smarter, simpler, smaller. We need a government that's more responsive to our needs and that can actually, yeah, like a Rambler, exactly. Now we're at a time, the nation is in a very critical time. We face attack from jihadists. We face tougher competition from Asia than we've ever known before. We're spending too much money. We're using too much oil. Our schools aren't up to snuff. Our healthcare system isn't working for too many people. And folks want to see people in Washington get the job done and not just talk about it. Stop the political sniping, partisanship, and actually get the job done. And that's what I represent. I have not spent my life in politics. I spent my life getting the job done, and that's what I expect to do in Washington.
What did Ron Ramsey, our Lieutenant Governor, ask you, or what did you tell him? If you can share anything for 30 seconds with us.
Well, I had a good chance to chat with the Lieutenant Governor Ramsey. We talked about the challenges of the nation and the need to actually get something done. Everything from energy policy that allows us to be independent of foreign energy, to spending less money, to holding down taxes, getting our health care system to work. Look, you've experienced TennCare here in Tennessee. The whole nation has been watching and recognized how badly things can get misaligned. And we need to have a health care policy for the nation that makes sense. And that's something which I've been pursuing in my home state, and I think other states can as well.
You want
Well, I was wondering on
The governor, I guess, if you want to keep going.
Can we keep going?
Oh, sure. Unless I get cut off by Eric back there.
On abortion, I was just wondering, are you in favor of just the repeal of Roe v. Wade, or would you like to see a human life amendment? What steps are you prepared to take to support human life?
Here's my view, and that is that the Supreme Court should, over time, allow states to have more influence over their decisions on abortion. I'm not calling for a nationwide ban of abortion. What I'm calling for is states to have their choice. If a state wants to be pro-choice, it could be pro-choice. If a state wants to be able to restrict certain portions of abortion, it should have the right to do that, or be pro-life. So let the decision be made by the state, not a one-size-fits-all decision by the federal government.